Joining us, professors of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan, Justin Wolfers and Betsy Stevenson. They're also married, so this is fun to have them on at the same time, although Betsy's back at home and I get Justin here. Welcome to the set. Welcome to New York.
Can I blow Betsy a kiss?
Yes.
Miss you, mate. See you soon.
That's very sweet. Explain to me why the stock market is doing so well. I do not understand it.
Right. So you're right to be puzzled. I'm lightly puzzled and I get paid not to be puzzled. But I want to come back to why you're puzzled. You're puzzled because you're like, well, war in Iran feels like a really bad thing. Why would markets be up? What's absolutely been true every single day since we've gone to war, if the president escalates, stocks fall. If the president de-escalates, stocks rise. Where are we right now? We're in the middle of a de-escalation dance. So I think that's the first thing.
Stocks haven't fallen that much. I mean, you would think that given the blockade and Iran being able to control the strait for the foreseeable future and putting tolls and whatever and demining the strait, you would think that because of all the oil that comes through there and all of the cargo and the fertilizer, whatever, that the stock market would just contract, right? I mean, isn't that the logical next step?
Here's a crazy thought. There's other things going on.
Okay.
So if what you want to do is isolate what does the market think about the war, what you'd do is you'd look at a very narrow window where something bad happens and you'd see how the market responds. And it turns out every time this is why I said, every time we escalate, the market tanks. So, there's a lot of other things going on. The other thing I want to point out is the US is not the whole world. Mm-hmm. If you look at other countries, their markets are down substantially more. We kind of knew that coming into this because, remember, the US is, roughly speaking, energy independent.
So what's keeping our markets afloat? Is it AI?
Partly oil. So the thing is, right, oil prices go up. You and I, next time we go fill our gas tanks, costs more. You feel bummed out. You got less to go and spend doing all the fun things you like to do. But that money you're paying goes somewhere, and it's going to US oil companies. Every barrel they're pulling out of the ground, they're pulling up, is now worth a whole bunch more. That's some part of the story. It's not the whole story, obviously, right? You're absolutely right. AI is part of it. We've got sectors that are still doing very well. Health is doing very well. And the other thing to remember is this is all forward-looking, right? So when you're looking at the market, it might not rise and fall the way you think it is, but the question is, what's going on today relative to our expectations?
Betsy, what about, though, I know that, Justin lays it out pretty well, but Donald Trump is so erratic and so hard to predict, and you just never know when he's going to start another war, bomb another country. There's all this, there's talk about Cuba, there's talk about, Greenland, there had been talk. It's hard to predict what might come out of his mouth next. Has that been factored into the market? Does the market just ignore it, or do they expect it? How does that work?
I think it's that they expect it now. They have learned to navigate and live through chaos. The thing is, there's now always chaos. So chaos isn't a shock that's going to be one day and then chaos will be gone tomorrow. They're just living through a very chaotic time. And they're trying to look through that noise because the stock market represents, the net present future value of earnings in the long run. And the hope is that the U.S. is going to keep growing, partially due to AI. But I will tell you, I see some frothy signs out there that makes me think that, they might not have all the risk that the U.S. economy is exposed to right now, priced into the market. It makes me a little bit worried because I think one of the things that would tip us into a recession would be if we had some kind of big market correction.
Well, what could be the correction? What could precipitate it?
It's a big escalation in the war in Iran that ended up having, a lot more negative global effects. All of a sudden, you could imagine investors realizing, whoa, this is going to be, really bleak for a really long time, wanting to pull their money out while they can. A crash is kind of, it is like everybody sort of reacting to bad news at once. Right now, I think everyone they now have confidence that Trump will de-escalate when the market corrects. And I think you've pointed this out before. The problem with the taco trade is if everybody learns to just believe that he's going to fix it later and they don't actually have the market crash, then he might not fix it. Right. and that would ultimately cause a problem. But I think they are really getting used to a volatile guy who they think is always going to bail them out when things look bad.
Yeah, when the reinforcement loop stops being connected to reality, doesn't that put us in a dangerous place?
Profoundly dangerous.
Yeah.
Look, there's laws and there's theorems and there's rules about this, but just remember, I kept thinking about your question, Katie, because it was a good one, and you kept pinning me down saying, Justin, it wasn't a good answer, so I'm going to give you a better one. Remember 2 weeks ago, the president threatened to wipe a civilization off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt. I felt something deeply painful in the pit of my stomach.
I think anybody with a heart and a soul saw that and thought that's terrible.
That's not just emotion, no, it's also economic. Because, yes, I had to sit down to my 13-year-old and explain to him what's going on, and so many of us had to do that. But also, if I was thinking about building a factory, if I was thinking about making some form of investment, if I was thinking about changing careers, if I was thinking about starting a new business, mate, if we're one night's lost sleep away from wiping countries off the face of the earth, that's really going to give me a whole lot of pause. So honestly, am I more optimistic today? Wildly so. Because we're not going to arbitrarily knock countries off the face of the earth.
At least not yet.
Not for another couple of sleeps.
Hopefully.
We think.
I don't know. I think it's hard to tell what
I was
you're going to go
say,
to
at least
sleep and
not
wake up
today.
to. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe tomorrow.
You wake up to all sorts of news out of this White House. You can't really get a comfortable sleep because you know that he's up all night posting crazy stuff on social media, and who knows what your morning digest is going to look like, or what calls you're going to get at 4 a.m. Can you please come into the studio, or worse? Betsy, Justin, really good to have you both. Next time, let's all do it in person, then we can go for a drink afterwards.